Well, good Tuesday, everyone. It is about that time where we get together for a few minutes. We have a little coffee with PC. Today I have a weird concoction. This cup is the one that I made we had some Jamaican blend, we had some Dunkin' Donuts, just a little bit of each, and I mixed them together. Actually, it came out pretty good. The combination is better than the individual coffees that I put together, which is an interesting thing indeed, and it sort of ties into what I want to talk about today. There's a verse in the Psalms that I want to start with and then see if we can learn something from it. It's Psalm 34 verse 8. Psalm 34 verse 8 says this: "Taste and see that the Lord is good." When you hear like taste, I think cooking, I think recipes. If you're like us, you probably get most of your recipes off of the internet, off blogs. Denise has quite the Pinterest page with recipes. You know, it used to be you'd have all those cookbooks in the cabinet, and we still have a few. We have some Southern Living, you know, kind of the classics there. We have some family recipes that are printed off or handwritten that we keep, but a lot of things we just find online. And here's the interesting thing about that is in these recipe blogs, if you've done this, you know this is how it works. You get to this recipe blog and there's this long story about how the person found the recipe and the various ingredients they get in or about them making it. And the recipe, you have to scroll through page after page, picture after picture, it feels like, to finally get down to the bottom of this long entry just to see, you know, that's what you want. You want the recipe. You want to see what the ingredients are so you can make it. And it's kind of fascinating to me that's the way it works. But you know, that's just sort of one of those internet quirks, I guess. And ultimately, you know, when I think of those recipes, we've found some really good ones, whether it's for our Instant Pot, which has been a nice addition, or whether it's some dessert recipes or just some snacks or goodies that Denise makes. We found a lot of neat recipes on there. And what do you do when you get a new recipe? You taste it, you make it, you taste it, and you decide, I like this, I don't like this. And that's sort of what I hear or think about when I read Psalm 34:8. Taste and see that the Lord is good. But here's the surprising part. Here's the thing that about this passage that I think is really fascinating. You know, if I were to just say, taste and see that the Lord is good, maybe what's going to happen in our mind is we think this is just saying that just look around and we might say count your blessings, which is a good thing. Or we might think that the psalmist here, David, is writing because everything is going well. But when you look at the occasion of this psalm, it's not because David is on a high of life. In fact, the little opening tells us that this is written by David when he pretended to be insane before Abimelech, who drove him away. So David wrote this psalm in a time of difficulty. Now, we might normally think, taste and see that the Lord is good. It would be when everything is going well. And David is on a high, and he's saying, look around, look at all my blessings. Look at how good my reign is. Look at how prosperous my treasury is. Look at how peaceful my kingdom is. Taste and see that the Lord is good. But it's actually just the opposite. David is writing those words when things are very difficult. In fact, if you just go a few verses later, it talks about verse 17, the righteous cry out, the Lord hears them, he delivers them. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted, and he saves those who are crushed in troubles. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers them from them all. And I think that's the surprising part to me of this psalm, that David is talking about and speaking from a time of great trouble. Now let's go back to our recipe analogy, because I think this is helpful. You know, when you get a recipe, you could think about the finished product. You think about whether it's a dessert. Denise just made pineapple upside down cake this weekend. It's her mom's favorite dessert, and that was what she requested for her birthday, which we celebrated with her this weekend, and so she made pineapple upside down cake. And if you were to take some of the individual ingredients, it might not be very tasty. For instance, let's say you took a big old scoop of flour and tasted it. Is that going to taste good? No. I mean, that would just be gummy and that's now sugar. You might say, yeah, that sounds great, but too much of that, it's just cloying. Or how about baking soda or baking powder? Not things that we want. Or even if you think of other things, like cinnamon is often a flavoring in different things, but cinnamon by itself, a big scoop of cinnamon, there was actually a cinnamon challenge some time ago where kids would challenge each other how much cinnamon could they put in their mouth, and it actually turned out to be apparently rather dangerous because cinnamon doesn't melt or dissolve. It just stays kind of clumped, and if you do that, it's not good. But you mix it in with maybe, I don't know, what could you think of cinnamon? Maybe an oatmeal raisin cookie or something like that. Maybe put it on your oatmeal. Cinnamon's wonderful. It's a wonderful flavoring, but by itself, not so much. And I think when we get to Psalm 34, we see that same thing working. David can say, in the midst of trouble, as he looks around, as he's kind of in a bad way and not experiencing maybe the blessings that we would think taste and see would elicit in our minds, David says, taste and see that the Lord is good. And here's the thing. It's easy in times of trouble to forget the good times. It's easy when we've recently had a major failure to forget all of our successes. Maybe over this last months with what's happening with the pandemic, you've had some financial difficulties. I know many people have in our community. And in times of financial difficulty, that seems all-consuming. It's hard to forget the times when you were more prosperous. Or maybe there's a sense of loss, that you've lost friendship or someone you love, and in those times of loss, you forget the times of joy. Or even when you find yourself ill, in those times of sickness, it's easy to forget about all of the years you might have had of health. And so we have these realities that when we're in the midst of trouble, we forget the good times. But here's the irony, maybe we could say. It's in fact the trouble, it's in fact the difficult times that make us appreciate the good even more. It's because we had loss, because we had grief, that our joys are actually made more intense. It's because we are exhausted that we can truly appreciate rest. There's nothing like, when you're just tired and kind of wiped out, to go and lay down on your bed and just relax into that. We appreciate rest, but only as we understand what it means to be weary. We appreciate the light, just when the sun comes up, when we've experienced the dark. There's so many contrasts that we could pull in that way. We understand better. We truly savor, we truly taste and see the goodness of life as we come and compare it to the troubles in our life. And I think that's the message that David is trying to communicate here, that in fact, much like a recipe that might blend the sweet and the savory ingredients to come out with on their own individual flavors, some not so pleasant, when you put them all together and add the element of time and cooking, you are left with just a wonderful, flavorful, nutritious, or maybe on the dessert side, not so nutritious, but nonetheless delicious recipe, delicious dish that you can enjoy. And life is exactly like that. Our relationship with God is exactly like that. That the trouble that comes, even as we talked about on Sunday, pruning or discipline, the hardships that come, that we endure the hardship as discipline. We understand that God is seasoning our life so that we can better appreciate His goodness, His grace, His presence with us in trouble, His deliverance from trouble. That's what David says. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He saves those. We can call upon Him and He will deliver us, that we truly appreciate all that God offers as we experience the difficulties in life. And here's the other byproduct of that. Here's the result that can come from that. As we go through our difficulties and as we receive the comfort, the presence, the help of God, when we look around and we find others that we care about experiencing similar difficulties, we're able then to go to them and provide for them the comfort, the help, the security that we received, because we've been there, we've done that, we know the feelings, and so we can relate. And in the way we've been comforted, the New Testament tells us, we can then comfort others. And so that's what we do. Yes, the Lord is close to us when we're brokenhearted. But out of that brokenheartedness, he brings together all of the elements, some not so pleasant and others very pleasant, to make for us this recipe of our life that provides for us a true understanding of the grace and the mercy and the goodness of God. And I think that's what David is getting at here when he asks us, when he invites us to taste and see that the Lord is good. Not pretending that life isn't hard, not pretending that there aren't difficulties that we have to endure, but realizing that it's those difficulties that flavor our lives to understand truly the depth and the breadth and the width and the height, as Paul would say, of the love of God for we, his children. So wherever you find yourself this week, whatever situations you're going through, I hope many of you are experiencing a good week, some positive things, some joys, some hopeful things, some prosperity even, that you'll remember in those times God is good and he's provided those blessings. But even if you're on the other side of that, if this week you're feeling more the sense of loss, you're feeling the sense of aloneness, you're feeling the sense of difficulty, that you'll recognize that God is close even in those circumstances, that God by his grace reaches out to you, comes alongside you, and walks you through those valleys of the shadow, as the psalmist said, David in Psalm 23, to bring about the savoriness of a life spent in dependence with God. Taste and see, David invites us, that the Lord is good. I hope that encourages you this Tuesday morning. Listen, as always, we certainly want to invite you to join us on Sunday. I'm going to put the link in the Facebook Live here to register for the service. Again, you don't have to register to come. It just helps us as we plan, in the realities of the world we live in, issues of social distancing, trying to make sure that we have enough room for those who desire to come to service. It's been, not a problem. We've had plenty of room when you come to distance, to have your family sit together. But it's just helpful for us to kind of have an idea who's going to be here. So I'll put that, as always, in the comments of this Coffee with PC video. We'll be back together on Friday. I'll join you again Friday morning as we do Coffee with PC again. In the meantime, I hope this week, just to take the invitation of David in Psalm 34 verse 8, I hope this week that you'll truly taste and see that the Lord is good. He'll show you his goodness. He'll show you his grace. He'll be near to you even in trouble, as a reminder of his love for us. So you take care, have a great Tuesday, and we will catch up with you later this week.